Welcome to EPG Pathshala. My name is N. Rekha and I am from the Department of Food Service Management and Dietetics. Today we are going to see the module on feeding the low birth weight infants. So I think everybody will know low birth weight infants refers to the infants who are born before in between 34 or 37 weeks of gestation, before 37 weeks of gestation, and in this period it is very important to see the requirements of the low birth weight infants. Adequate nutrition is essential for the optimal growth and health of very low birth weight infants. Enteral nutrition is preferred to total parenteral nutrition because the former avoids complications related to vascular catheterization, sepsis, adverse effects of total parenteral nutrition, and fasting. Early parenteral nutrition in these babies remains critical and should be used as an adjunct to enteral nutrition. The overarching goal while feeding very low birth weight infants is to reach full enteral feeding in the shortest time while maintaining optimal growth and nutrition and avoiding the adverse consequences of rapid advancement of feeding. Attaining this goal is more difficult than it sounds and controversies abound. So, preterm and low birth weight infants have higher nutritional needs than their more mature and larger counterparts. Quantitative analysis indicates that such infants need intake of 3.6 to 4 grams and as much as 120 kilocalories per kg per day to achieve adequate growth if fed enterally. In countries with restricted health budgets, these requirements must always be derived from milk preparations even in the smallest or sickest babies. If total parenteral nutrition is not available, the milk produced by mothers who deliver prematurely contains 1.9 or 1.1 to 3.5 grams protein and 75 kilocalories per 100 ml during the first 14 to 28 days following delivery. However, this dropped to 0.9 grams protein and kilocalories thereafter. Alternative feeds available in poor countries include cows or standard formula with grossly inadequate nutritional value. When available, breast milk fortification and preterm formula are used to easily achieve the needs of small infants. The main important challenge in resource restricted environment is therefore to innovative strategies of maximizing nutrition from available affordable milk products. The innovations must be undertaken while minimizing the risk of feed intolerance, necrotizing enterocolitis, and overload related cardiac complications. Required volumes of milk needed to provide 4 grams per kg of protein and the nutritional value of available milk preparations are given in this table for the reference. Nutritional support of preterm infants occurs in two distinct phases which each carry their own risks and challenges. During the early phase, nutrients are predominantly provided via the parenteral route, while enteral or trophic feeding assists the immature intestinal tract in its gradual maturation but provide few nutrients to the infants. During the late phase, infants are on exclusive enteral feeding and are expected to grow normally. If provided the necessary nutrients, preterm infants may also show catch-up growth or making up some of the ground typically lost during the early phase. Now we will see on the requirement for protein and energy based on the factorial approach. This is given in the table 2, which you can refer for your clarifications. For the normal or to catch up the growth according to the other infants to happen, the infant must receive the requisite amount of nutrients. Failure to receive adequate amounts of nutrients, principally protein, leads to growth failure. The amount of protein and energy required for normal growth are summarized here. early nutrition is during the immediate postnatal period. The objective of nutritional support is twofold: to provide an uninterrupted flow of nutrients so that the anabolic state can continue with minimum interruption, and to support the immature gastrointestinal tract in its transition to a mature state. As this maturation progresses, a gradual shift occurs from the exclusive parenteral nutrition to exclusive enteral nutrition. The early nutrition period ends when full enteral nutrition are reached. Parenteral nutrition. In immature infants, parenteral nutrition should begin immediately within 2 hours of birth and must provide as a minimum glucose, amino acids, electrolytes, calcium, phosphorus and magnesium. It is acceptable for the amount of amino acids to be less than 3.5 grams per kg per day for a shorter period. The initiation of lipid emulsion is less urgent and a delay for up to 48 hours is probably acceptable. The initial rate need not be more than 0.5 grams lipids per kg per day. The efficacy and safety of parenteral nutrition starting immediately after birth have been demonstrated. The full parenteral nutrition should be maintained until enteral feedings of 20 ml per kg day are regularly tolerated. As feedings are increased, the amount of parenteral nutrition is tapered with total intake of nutrients always at full level. Now we will see on the enteral nutrition. The anatomically and functionally immature intestine can undergo maturation in a relatively short time, given the necessary stimulation is provided in the form of trophic feeding. Enteral, that is at least trophic feeding, should be started on the first day of life. Feeding volumes initially may be as low as 2 ml every 6 hours or 4 hours. In very premature infants, stimulation of the gut is initially the sole objective of enteral feedings. Motility serves as a marker of gut maturation and is monitored clinically through the assessment of gastric residuals. As gastric emptying improves, it is assumed that the ability to digest and absorb nutrients also is improving. Gastric emptying thus serves as an important clinical guide in early enteral feeding. The risk of NEC is quite low with trophic feedings but increases subsequently as feeding volumes increases. The preferred trophic feeding is maternal, that is trophic is the other name for enteral feeding. Trophic feeding is maternal milk, or when not available, donor milk. Donor milk may also be used to supplement maternal colostrums. I think everybody know what is a colostrum. It is a yellowish colored fluid which is secreted in the first week or first 3 to 5 days of delivery from the mother's breast, which is usually available only in small amount during the first few days. Donor milk is pasteurized and free of viruses such as HIV, human immunodeficiency virus and cytomegalovirus. Although pasteurization diminishes some of its protective factors, donor milk still is protective against NEC and is preferable to formula. Preterm formula must be used when human milk is not available. Feeding volumes may be kept low for several days or may be increased as gastric residuals diminishes. At each new level, the adequacy of gastric emptying, that is absence of gastric residuals, must be ascertained before the feeding volume is further increased. The presence of gastric residuals does not require cessation of feeding as long as there is no signs of suggestive enterocolitis. The use of trophic feeding leads to earlier establishment of full feeding and to earlier hospital discharge without a significant increase in NEC. Feeding volumes should be increased by 20 ml per kg each day or less. Although more rapid increases are safe, intestinal maturation requires time and more rapid increases are not recommended. When feeding volumes are 80 to 100 ml per kg per day, fortification of breast milk should be initiated. Parenteral nutrition should be discontinued when enteral feedings provide more than 90% of required nutrition intakes. So these are the aspects which has to be looked into when the baby is being or the infant is being kept on the enteral nutrition. Now we will move on to the late nutrition, how this progression can be maintained from the enteral to the later nutrition. The late period begins when full feedings are established and parenteral nutrition is discontinued. Feedings are fortified human milk, or when not available, special formulas with a protein content of 3 grams per 100 kilocalories is given. Breast milk must be fortified to increase the protein and mineral content in order to meet the preterm infant's high needs. Any of the commercially available fortifiers are suitable, although all provide less than an optimal amount of protein. The main objective of nutrition is to allow growth to proceed parallel to intrauterine growth channels. Also, infants who have fallen behind during the early phase may be able to show catch-up growth after this. The protein and energy intake are needed to support growth at intrauterine rate. If the infant is to catch up, growth intakes must be further increased by 10 to 20%. So, to attain the catch up growth, the nutrient requirements should be increased if they don't gain weight during the early stages. Providing the required protein intake is important but difficult. If the infant is fed formula, the protein and the energy ratio tends to be close to the required ratio, except for very small infants. If the infant is fed fortified human milk, the protein and the energy ratio is almost always too low, and hence the protein intake is inadequate. The reason is that fortifiers are designed to raise the protein and the energy ratio from 2.1 grams per 100 kilocalories. Typically, human milk at 2 weeks after partition is to about 3.0 grams per 100 kilocalories. Now, the protein and the energy ratio is adequate for larger infants only. More importantly, the protein content of human milk after 2 weeks of lactation is less than 3 grams per 100 kilocalories and inadequate for smaller infants who weighs less than 1500 grams, who are referred to as very small infants. Additional protein should be added for these group of infants. This can be done by adding more than the standard amount of fortifier, that is more than 50%, or by adding extra protein. A method for bun guided fortification has been described below. Next is how you will initiate crystalloids. Many small infants develop early complications, making immediate enteral feeding hazardous. Even healthy babies may not tolerate enteral feeds immediately after birth. Intravenous crystalloids are often required to support circulation. Blood sugar and electrolytes are very much, it is given in the table too. During this period, during this phase, infants can receive small feed volumes to stimulate their gut. How you have to initiate enteral feeds. So, we have already talked about the enteral nutrition. Now, we will see what are the steps to initiate the enteral feed. To start the initiation, it is possible for even the smallest or the sickest infants to be safely fed enterally if the primary condition is stable. Healthy infants can feed on day 1, while sick ones start from day 2 to 4 days, though necrotizing enterocolitis has been associated with enteral feeding. There is no conclusive evidence that early feeding adds to the risk. Full feeds should therefore be achieved by day 5 to 10 in most of the infants. Now, we will see on the figure or a flow like a algorithm flow chart where the timing of enteral feeds for low birth weight and preterm infants is given, or the requirements for IV fluids, etc. So, the first, after the delivery of the infant, that is first to 4 hours, first we have to stabilize the baby and giving warm earth and oxygen. Once the baby is being stabilized, then we'll give water according to the birth weight. We have to give the IV fluids. So once the birth weight for the infants less than 1 kg, the IV fluids alone for first 24 hours. So once for the birth weight less than 1 kg, the IV fluids should be given for first 24 hours. For the birth weight infants for 1 to 1.5 kg, IV fluids and enteral feeds are given, and the birth weight for greater than 1.5 kg, full enteral feeds are given for the infants. Starting from feed from day 2 full feed, that is below 1 kg. For day 2 feed, from day 2 full feed, day 7 vitamins a day is given, and for the babies 1 to 1.5 kg weight, full feed by day 3 to 5 and vitamins are given. For the birth weight greater than 1.5 kg, breastfeed when struck reflex strong is given. Once the breastfeed is given, the baby sticks on to the breastfeeding. And for the birth weight less than 1 kg, the iron and folate is given in 6 weeks or when the birth weight doubles. So here again in the birth weight 1 to 1.5 kg infant, iron and folate are given in the 6 weeks or when the birth weight doubles again here. And for the infants who are more than 1.5 kgs, vitamins and iron optionals are given along with that. Now we will see for the babies who are not stable after the delivery. So for the babies who are not stable, the birth weight less than 1 kg, IV fluids alone is given for the first 24 to 72 hours, and for the birth weight babies 1 to 1.5 kg, IV fluids for the first 24 hours, and for the birth weight greater than 1.5 kg, IV fluids and milk feeds are given. And in the category of birth weight less than 1 kg of infants, tropic feeds from day 2 and the nutritionally adequate feeds are given. And for the birth weight infants 1 to 1.5 kg, nutritional feed is started in the day 2. And for the birth weight infants greater than 1.5 kg, full feeds is started in the 3 to 7 days. In the less than 1 kg weight of infants, full feeds from the day 20 plus vitamins are given, and for the birth weight of 1 to 1.5 kg, full feeds day from 7 vitamins is given. Next, for the greater than 1.5 kg of birth weight, breastfed when is given once the suck reflex is strong. And after again for the less than 1 kg birth weight infant, iron and folate weeks doubled after the initiation. Then again for the 1 to 1.5 kg birth weight infants, iron and folates is again doubled, and for the greater than 1.5 kg weighing infants, vitamins and irons are optionally given. Here is again a table is given on the administration of crystalloids. It is given in ml per kg of body weight, and you can just go through for your reference. Now we will start what is the importance and how the breast milk should be given for the babies. The breast milk of mothers in advanced lactation has a nutritional value of 0.9 grams protein and 60 to 79 kilocalories per 100 ml. During the first 14 to 28 days, however, mothers who deliver prematurely produce milk with a protein content ranging from 1.1 to 3.5 grams. During the first 14 days, infants can therefore grow on 220, 200 and 180 ml per kg per day if weighing less than 1 or 1 to 1.5 kg or greater than 1.5 kg respectively. Thereafter, infants weighing less than 1.5 kg will require up to 400 ml per kg of their mother's milk for adequate nutrition. Such large volumes are unlikely to be tolerated in practice and may even overload the infants with lipids and other nutrients. In the absence of fortification, the highest tolerated volume should be tried even in the smallest infants. This may succeed with smaller aliquids given every 1 or 2 hours for babies weighing less than 1 kg and 1 to 1.5 kg. Donor prematurely at a 1:1 ratio with owns mother milk will also allow the use of lower volumes, that is 280 to 300 ml per kg per day. The preferential use of donor keeps the volumes at pre-day, that is 14 days per levels. The HIV status of donors must be known to exclude the risk of HIV transmission if at all HIV infection is been present. breast milk fortification and preterm formula wherever available. This option makes it possible to provide the requirements for most small babies with traditional 180 to 200 ml per kg per day. If only limited financial reserves are available for selective fortification, then the infant's weights less than 1.5 kg or those who either fail to grow well on the large volumes of mother's milk recommended above or develop volume related intolerance can benefit from the technology. Has been reported deliberate mixing of PTF with breast milk reduces the volume required for better growth. The required volumes for different types of milk are summarized. Now the micronutrients, the daily requirements of micronutrients including vitamins and iron should be given to all a very low birth weight infants as recommendations and for to catch up the growth with their peer groups. So the breast milk plays a very important role in acquiring the growth to their peer groups for a very low birth weight infant or for the lower birth weight infant. Now we have seen how the initiation or the feeding pattern is given for low birth weight infants, and to summarize, I would say low birth weight infants at the starting stages should be taken very critically and should be looked after very carefully in the hospital condition itself. So in the absence of total parenteral nutrition, enteral feeds should be started on the day 1 for all stable babies and not delayed beyond day 4 for even the sickest infants. The best milk strategy available should always be preferred. Larger volumes of nutritionally poor milk should be adopted as tolerated. Milk pooled from mothers who delivered prematurely offers an option to cut down on volumes. With a smaller budget, breast milk fortification or preterm formula can be used for special groups such as very low birth weight infants and those with poor growth or maximal volume of standard milk. Vitamins and iron should be provided to all infants born weighing less than 1.5 kg. So these vitamins like zinc and iron are only which gives the to fight against immunization or the vaccine power to fight against any infections. So it is very important to look after the very low birth or take crucial care of the low birth weight infants. Thank you.